All right. So now we are on the next phase of the story. Um, so my mother, like I said, she ended up putting my brother in a group home, and then I just kind of like started doing the most. And then I started being labeled as a bad kid. Everybody was looking at me, oh, she's bad. She's always in trouble. She's this, she's that. Like, I felt unseen by my family. I felt unloved by my siblings. And I didn't understand because they went through the same thing that I went through. And all I was looking for was someone to protect me. Now that I'm older, I understand that they were struggling themselves and they couldn't help me, but it still hurt. So anyway, we ended up moving from that home. We ended up moving over in Delwood uh, for Chambers, and things were okay for a while. My stepfather still wasn't around. Um, it was just me and my twin brother, and I want to say one of my other brothers, but I don't quite remember. I just remember that me and my twin brother used to be there alone by ourselves all the time, and we didn't have food a lot of times. And so sometimes my siblings would come over, and my older sister, because I had nieces and nephews that were just a little bit younger than me. Um, I had a nephew that was like a year or two younger than me, and then I have a niece that's like younger than me. So everybody was pretty close in age. So I remember that there was a lot of still like just apparently they had been being sexually abused too, because there was more sexual abuse going on and people were doing things to each other that didn't make sense. And um so that happened for a while, and then that kind of stopped happening. um but it was always some sort of uh, molestation or something going on just within the family in general. I mean, I don't think it was just my siblings. I feel like it was a lot of my family members that were going through it. We just didn't know what each other was going through. And that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of generational abuse that happens, whether it's sexual, physical, emotional, and people don't talk about it. It gets brushed under the rug, and my family was no exception. Um, Apparently there had been a lot of that going on, and it was not being said. Nothing was talked about, and nobody said anything. And so that caused a lot more of it to happen to other people and for other people to not be protected, which is the reason why I am speaking on this, because I feel like, again, it shaped me. It shaped how I viewed relationships. It shaped how I viewed sex, love, everything, you know. So anyway, we lived over in that house, and my stepfather would come in and out. He would be back and forth. Every time he would leave, my mother would go into this deep, dark depression. And I kind of suspected that something was going on with my mom, but I didn't know what. Because, like I said, she would be in her room for days and she would not come out. And when she did, she would see everything that's wrong. We're kids. We didn't have anybody like telling us what to do, whatever. It's like she'd sleep for days, and then she would wake up and then just beat us. She would wake up in the rampage. So a lot of that went on, and I ran away a lot, a lot. Like, I think the first time I ran away, I was probably 6 or 7 years old, sleeping in bushes, sleeping in cars, just wherever I could lay my head, just because I was afraid and I didn't want to get abused. I was afraid. I was afraid. Um, so I would run away a lot, and then when I got to school, so I went to and we ended up moving, and I ended up in a new school, and I was probably in the third or fourth grade at that time. And I used to get picked on all the time at school. Like, I didn't understand it because all these kids had nice clothes, they had shoes, they had everything. Like, I didn't understand why I was being picked on. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even have what they had. But I guess what I didn't know is that my hair, the way I looked, all those things made me a target for the girls at school to pick on me, and the boys liked me, so there I didn't care about those boys. Like, those boys were nothing to me. Like, I had my own stuff that I had going on in my home. That was the last thing I was worried about. However, that's the things that I had to face. And I remember that I used to get into fights a lot at school. I used to get bullied. It got to the point where I would we used to have a playground like right around the corner from the school, and we used to have to pass by it to get to school and walk back and forth to school. And so I was so afraid to go to school because, okay, I just got beat at home, and then now I got to go to school and get beat. Like, that was too much as a child. So I would go and hide in this tunnel in the park, and I would stay in that tunnel. I would stay in that tunnel for hours until school was over. And then sometimes when I got hungry, I would go to the lunchroom, because there would be people that would have their lunches up on the thing. I don't know if it was like the older kids, or I don't know exactly why there were lunches up there, but I would steal a lunch and then I would take it to the tunnel and I would eat it. And that went on for a long time. So I just started learning to steal food, steal money. Like, I used to steal money out of my mom's wallet because I didn't have food and I was hungry. And it was really embarrassing. I used to get beat a lot for that because my mother would end up finding out that I took the money, and then, of course, I would get beat for it. So that went on and on and on. Eventually, I had a niece that lived with us. She ended up moving on with us. She's like the one that's like a little bit younger than me. She's so amazing. I love her. We ended up getting really close, and she had to move with us. So when she moved with us, I was so happy because I was like, oh my gosh, I have somebody to hang out with now. I have a friend, somebody to confide in. Of course, by that time, I was already stealing. I was already lying. I was already doing all kind of things, acting out because of what I'd been through, survival mode. And so if we didn't have clothes, we would go to Fashion Gal or something and shoplift up there, or something like that. Or we go get food, or go to the Magic Market and take something, or whatever it was that we were doing at the time, just to survive or just to have what we needed. Eventually, my niece got tired of getting beat down with me, because we would get in trouble together, and she ended up calling her mother. Her mother ended up coming to get her, and then, of course, I was alone again outside of my twin brother. But he had a best friend that lived across the street. And so he would always be over there. I would always be in trouble, always getting whippings, always in my room. Like, it seems like everything was a whipping. Like, nothing was ever talked about. Like, it was always physical abuse that was happening to me. And it was happening to my brothers too, but it happened, I feel like, more to me. And now that I look back on it, I see the pattern that was the same with my sisters. Like, my brothers could get away with things, but my sisters, they would get, not all of them, but most of them would get abused. It was like my mother was angry at the girls, but the boys she loved. That kind of confused me a little bit, but I understand the dynamics now and the codependency and different things like that. But anyway, she left. And then I used to have a neighbor that lived next door to us. She was a sweetheart. And she decided to let me come over and hang out, because there was a lot of times that I was like by myself, and she would let me come over and hang out. And when she would leave, I would leave her back door unlocked so that I can go and eat food out of the house. And I found myself doing that a lot when I would go over people's houses. I would eat. That's what I wanted to do, because there was nothing at my house, and I knew I didn't know when I was going to get my next meal. So I would literally go to people's houses, and everybody else was normal. Like the kids were normal. They had snack time. They had food. They, you know what I mean? They had 3 meals a day. And it was confusing to me because I didn't understand it. So I'm always in the kitchen trying to, eat, trying to, and the parents would always be like, are you okay? Did you have, you get enough to eat? Like, what's going on? Like, I think they knew something wasn't right, but they couldn't quite put their finger on it. But anyway, I used to do things like steal quarters from my brother's friends' drawer, different things like that. So early on, I learned not just from that, but I seen other people stealing. I seen some of my siblings stealing. I seen friends stealing. Like that was a thing. Like if you didn't have it, you got it, whatever way you got it. So that kind of shaped me feeling like that was a normal thing. So after a while, my stepfather ended up coming back. I didn't want him to come back. I was like, wow, I'm already going through what I'm going through with her, and now he's here. You know what I mean? And I already had this thought of him, how I thought about him from the things that I saw my mom going through. So I was not happy that he was there. However, there was nothing that I could do about it. One thing I can say that I want to say, if my mother didn't give me anything else, she gave me spirituality. And I feel like my spirituality is really what kept me going. However, I was confused about that too, because I felt like, okay, well, if there's a God, why am I getting abused? Why is this happening? Why is that happening? And because I'm young, I didn't have all the answers. I didn't really know. So I'm thankful that she gave me that. So let me just say that. Anyways, my stepfather came back, and I have to say this. Before he came back, I knew that my mom, something was going on with her mentally, because I remember one time we went to the store, and she had just got through seeing my stepfather. I don't know if she went to go see him or if they were on the phone together. I just know that there was some sort of communication happening. She got the phone. She was upset. I didn't know what was going on with her. But anyway, we rode to the store together, and I ended up riding with her to the store. And on our way back from the store, we were going up Chambers Road, and she just started speeding and like looking ahead, and it was like she was zoned out. And I got scared, and I'm like, Mama, like, are you okay? Are you okay? And she didn't say anything. She just kept on. And then right after that, she ended up in a mental hospital, I guess, being observed or getting diagnosed or whatever it was. One of my siblings or somebody came and stayed with us. And then when she came back, I guess she was on medication or something. I don't know what was going on, but she seemed different. Like she seemed different. Like she was trying to get it together. Like she was trying to figure it out. Yet she still hadn't peeled back those layers yet, I guess. And she was just now getting into her mental health journey and understanding her mental health. Her father died when she was 8 years old. This is another thing that generationally happens, where there's a lot of things that don't get talked about in families, especially with children. And because of that, they don't understand their mental health. They don't understand where they came from and what happened to them, or why they feel the way they feel. I do feel that mental illness can be passed on just like any other thing we could be disposed to. Alcoholism, drugs, whatever. Like, if we had a parent or a grandparent or somebody that was doing it, we could actually be in a situation where all it takes is just that one drink or that one situation, and then we are hooked. But anyways, she went into the hospital. She came back out. Everything was fine. She seemed like she was just trying to be a little bit more loving and understanding. I don't know if she was getting any help or if this was something that was just a one-time thing. But But I remember she was okay for a while. And I was happy. Fast forward back to my stepfather came back. When he came back, I remember everything was fine for a while. Um, but because I didn't really want to be there with him, I continued to run away. I started getting in trouble. Um, by this time, I'm probably in middle school. Um, I went to Riverview and my grades started failing again. So I would get in trouble a lot. I would be on punishment all the time. Like it was just never ending that I was in trouble. Um, so I started to be trouble. You know, I started feeling like, okay, well, if this is what it is, then this is what it is. I guess I'm a bad kid. I guess I'm just messed up. So let me just go ahead and continue to be messed up, which was not the right idea. But however, that was what was going on with me as a child, or where my mind was as a kid. So it started getting a little bit more crazy in the situation at home, and I resented my stepfather. I really resented him. Like I did not want to be there. And then my mother, she kept on trying to say that she was going to have him adopt us, and I did not want that. So I would act up. Like I was doing a lot of things, you know what I mean? And then I would be at school, like I said again, I would be getting bullied, and then I would get beat at home. You know, my mother was beating us with extension cords and plugs and just different things that she would beat us, and she would do it until she was tired. And I remember I used to be just so exhausted from being beat until I just wanted to die, you know? And I actually wanted to kill myself. Like I actually literally tried to hurt myself when I was about 9 or 10 years old. I think I remember when I first tried to do it. And I just felt worthless. I didn't feel good about myself. I thought I was the worst person in the world, the worst child in the world. You know, I didn't think that I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel seen. My siblings were nowhere around really. So I didn't really feel protected. But there was one of my brothers that I love him. And actually, I love all my siblings, but this particular brother, the one that's a little bit older than me, he would try to protect me as much as he could, me and my brother. And so I started hanging out with a lot of the guys, you know, from my school. It seemed like the guys protected me from the girls at school. So I started looking to guys for protection. I started looking to them. So I feel like I kind of a little bit um, became dependent on them to take care of me. I don't know if that even makes sense, but that's kind of what it was. And now that I look back on it, I feel like my mom was doing the same thing in her relationships, because she would like my dad was 60 years old when I was when he passed away. My mother was 30 something. You know, he was the same age as my grandma. So I feel like she was always looking for a father figure after her father died. Oh, that's what I meant to say. Her dad died when he was 8 years old. When she was 8 years old. And from what I understand, he tried to commit suicide, or he attempted to, or he did, or something. I'm not sure, because again, those are one of those things that are hidden secrets that the family don't talk about. But my niece did. One of my nieces did did our genealogy, and she found a letter where my grandfather basically I guess he felt hopeless. You know, it was back in the 40s. So he worked for the railroad. My grandmother, she was a nurse, and I don't know what was going on at the time, but I feel like he felt like he couldn't provide for his family, and I feel like he felt like he needed to do what he needed to do to maybe insurance or something. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. I don't want to speculate. I just know that I'm just kind of hear bits and pieces of things, and again, there's a lot of things that, like I said, families don't disclose to the next generation. And those are things that are like really super important to me anyway. Um, because if I'd have known a lot of the things that I know now, I would have been able to understand my mental health a little bit better. There has been a couple people in my family commit suicide. There's been a lot of mental health things in my family, and I do understand that it has a lot to do with where they came from. My grandmother was born in 1919, so she was fresh out of slavery. Her parents had to deal with that, and again, the way that they handled conflict, or if you were doing something, of course they got beat. So coming out of that, um, they started being abusive, and it continued and continued and continued to even now. Like even certain people that don't physically abuse their kids, like they feel like they're not doing anything because they're not physically abusing their kids, yet those are the same people that was emotionally and verbally abused by their parents. And so now we have a generation where parents are actually, you know, verbally abusing their children, you know, and they're not understanding how that verbal abuse is affecting that child, how worthless that child feels every time the parent yells at them, screams at them. And I'm not saying that kids don't do anything for you to get upset about, because they do, right? However, one of the things that I decided is that I was not going to verbally and physically abuse my kids. Um, there's a time and a place for everything, and sometimes kids do need discipline, but there's a difference between discipline and abuse. And I think that these days people get confused by whether or not they're abusing their kids or not. Anyways, back to the story. Um, my mother, she was abused, and so she abused us. Um, so one day I was at home. I was tired of getting abused, honestly. Um, and then one particular day, one of my friends, it was a guy that I really liked. He was really a good guy, and um, he lived up the street from me. And it was like he knew. It was like he knew I was being abused. Uh, he could see it in my face. Um, and I know he probably saw some of the scars when I was in school. Um, so I felt like he wanted to protect me. He wanted to guard me from whatever was going on. So I would run away a lot. I would go over to his house. His mom, she would let me stay. She would feed me. Um, really, that was really what helped me to even just realize that what I was going through as a child wasn't normal, because I normalized it, and I feel like a lot of kids normalize it, and a lot of people normalize it. It becomes a part of life at some point, and I ran away. So then one time, he was coming to get me because I didn't have anything to eat, and I think my mom was making something, but I didn't really want to eat what she made because she used to force us to eat things. Like I remember it was times that I hated oatmeal. Like it made me sick to my stomach, and I would dump it somewhere or do something, and she would physically make me get it off the floor, get off something, and she would make me eat it. And so that was also traumatizing. Um, so he came to get me, and he came to my window and tapped on my window, and my stepfather must have been in the den because there was a little room in between, my bedroom and the other bedroom. It was like a little den area, and it had like a couch and a TV in it. And I think he heard, well, I'm pretty sure he did, because he like came and like startled him, and then he went and told my mom, And even though I wasn't doing anything and it wasn't anything like malicious or anything bad going on, um, my mother, she immediately like snapped on me. And I get it, I understand it, because you see it, somebody's at your daughter's windows, whatever. And he wasn't in the window, but he was at the window waiting for me to, and I was going to climb out the window and go up to his house, and I was going to leave. um, but anyways, my mother beat me so bad. Like, she beat me so bad, and I had whelps all over my arms and legs, and I had a welt going across my face where she hit me in the face with the belt. So I went to school the next day. I was in middle school. It was the end of the school year, and my mom, I'm sorry, it was the end of the school year, and I had put on some jeans and a long sleeve shirt, and because I wanted to cover up the scars, so I didn't want anybody to see it. In the past, I have tried to tell, or not tried to tell, but someone else has reported abuse. But of course, nothing ever happened, because they would go talk to my mom, and then they would listen to what she had to say, and then they would leave me in the house, and then I'd get beat for someone telling what was going on. And so my mom, my teacher, she called me out in the hallway because I raised my sleeves up because I was hot. So I raised my sleeves up. I totally forgot about this, the whelps on my arms, and she saw it, and she called me out into the hallway, and she asked me what happened. And I told her, like, I didn't say my mom did it, because every time I said my mom did it, nothing would happen. So I figured, okay, if I say my stepfather did it, then that'll be better. And even though he didn't do what she did, he still whipped me. You know what I mean? Like, but it wasn't as bad as what my mom did. But I knew that I had to try to fight it away, to get away from that situation. And so I did lie. I said that my stepfather did it. Even though he didn't do the whelps, he still did what he did. And so I used that as an excuse. And he ended up, they went to my mom's house, I guess, and talked to her. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to go back home. Like, they're not going to make me go back to that house. Everything's going to be fine. I'm going to end up, someplace else. But I got home off the bus, and nobody was there. And the door was unlocked as usual. And I walked in, and I started doing my homework or whatever I was doing. I don't even know where my twin brother was. I don't know if they sent him somewhere. I don't know exactly what happened. But I know that that my mom ends up pulling up with my stepfather in the car, and she honked her horn. And I came to the door. And when I came to the door, she told me to get in the car. And I did. I got in the back seat. And she was like, I'm tired of my kids trying to ruin my relationship. And she was like, if I have to choose between you and him, it's going to be him. And you can leave. I just started crying in the back seat, because I did not understand why my mother would abandon me, and that made me even further hate my stepfather, and she made me get out of the car, and I got out of the car. And then she found every reason to beat me. So she was beating me. She was beating me. During the beating, one of my older brother, the one that's a little bit older than me, he knocked on the door. And that's the only thing that stopped the abuse, because I already had whelps on my arm. So just imagine the whelps, and then you have whelps on top of whelps, so it was bleeding. And my brother, he knocked on the door, and when he knocked on the door, my mother and my stepfather basically told him, you guys, you can't come here. You know, you can't come without calling. And so he had no idea what was going on, because I already know that if he knew, it would have been a problem. But thankfully he didn't, because that probably wouldn't have been a good situation. Um, but anyway, she made him leave. He was like, I wanted to see Sean and Sharonica, and whatever happened, I just remember them talking, and I was in there doing the dishes, and I was had the soapy water, you know, and my arms was burning from that soapy water. And when I heard him about to leave, something in me just was like, you gotta go, you gotta go. So I ran to my back to the room, and I opened up the window and I started calling for him, and he didn't answer. So I immediately jumped out of the window and never went back. Like, I jumped out the window and I went in to try to find my cousin. I had a cousin that lived in the apartments up the street. I was thinking she was at home, so I went to her house and she wasn't there. So it was a lady. It was a lady that lived next door to her. She heard me knocking, and she was like, "You can come in here." You know, I was like, "Oh, I'm waiting for my cousin." I made up some sort of story. I was like, "I'm waiting for my cousin." She was like, "Oh, you can stay here." I ended up being at her house for a couple of days. She had kids. I was like, "Oh, I'll watch them. I'll watch them." You know, I think I told her I was a little bit older than I was, so that she wouldn't be alarmed of me not, you know what I mean, being wherever I was supposed to be. And then she ended up seeing my arms. After a while, she was like, "Why are you still here? Like, what's going on? And your cousin's not here." And she ended up calling the police, and the police came and they took pictures of my arms and stuff. And come to find out, my mother never even reported me missing. Like, once she told me that I can go, she didn't try to find me. She didn't try to look for me or anything. So anyways, this is going to be the end of this video. I will come back for the next situation after I left home. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you soon.